Welcome back to the best channel on YouTube, Randy. Yeah. Also, I've started a new channel, Randall VODs, link in the description. It's where I post my stream VODs and my playthroughs, okay? Today we're looking at how KFC was made from a gas station chicken recipe. So it's not necessarily how KFC is made, it's how KFC was made.
He fried chicken in his kitchen, then packs it up in his handy bucket. All you do is pick it up. Imagine,
a bicycle?
The best meal of the week travels everywhere, every day of the week. Okay, girl.
I wish I had KFC on the wheels coming to me right now.
Making the perfect fried chicken as we know it, juicy on the inside, crispy on the outside, used to be a luxury because of how long it took to make.
Oh my god, look at...
But a man named Harlan Sanders changed that after mastering his own recipe and shortening the cooking
Erling? I thought man's name was Colonel.
time from 30 minutes to under 10.
Wow.
A survivor of the Great Depression and World War II, he journeyed across the US to start a franchise. After being rejected over 1,000 times, he went from being given $105 from Social Security checks to millions of dollars for his franchise.
A milli.
We had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom there, you see.
On September 9th of 1890, Harlan was born on a farm 3 miles from Henryville, Indiana.
He was born on a farm?
When he was 6 years old, his father passed away. His mother had no choice but to work, sewing for other families and peeling tomatoes at a canning factory.
They're not tomatoes, they're pebbles.
His younger siblings and do most of the cooking. By the time he was 7 years old, he had mastered bread and vegetables and was already getting better at meat.
What does it mean when you're getting better at meat? Getting better at making meat, you mean? Yo, man, I'm getting better at meat. I need to keep an eye on the time right now because I'm going to the podcast and I'm late to it. We've got a big episode today. Guys. It's out Wednesday. Do you think this jumper makes me look fat? I'm not sure whether to wear it or not on the podcast. Let me know in the comments. I mean, I've filmed it before, but let me know anyway. What do you think? Do I look chubby, bunny? Or not?
Fired after just a month. His mother asked if he would ever amount to anything in life. She said to him,
he will.
"Here you are, my oldest son. Your father is dead, and you're the only one I can look to for help with the other children. And you're no account. You can't even hold a job for $2 a month."
Colonel, step
Ashamed from disappointing her, he told himself that he would work harder the next time he got a job.
Good. She said that to him at 10? At 10 years old?
The idea of having stepchildren. So after a year, he left home and worked on a farm again.
Sorry. How do you get married to someone, but not like the idea of having stepchildren when there's 3 of them? That's horrible. You can't get married to someone and then be like, oh, wait, you got 3 kids, one of them. Nah. That's pissed me off.
To feed the animals, went to school during the day, and did odd jobs in the evening. Some nights, he shucked corn until about 8 or 9 at night. When he was 13 years old, he started 7th grade and dropped out after 2 weeks. He found algebra too difficult.
Same.
He continued to work on a farm for 2 years before pursuing several different jobs. He worked as a streetcar conductor, soldier, railroad fireman, insurance salesman, steamboat operator, lighting manufacturer, tire seller, and a lawyer. At one point, his first wife, Josephine King, left him with their children because he got fired so many times.
Wow.
It wasn't until he started working as a gas station operator that his luck changed. In 1924, he hitchhiked from Louisville to Winchester after job hunting. He was picked up by the general manager of Standard Oil Kentucky, an oil and gas company.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, that's
Harlan didn't know who he was at the time and told him what he had been through and why he didn't have a job. So he asked Harlan if he was interested in running a gas station in Nicholasville. Harlan didn't hesitate to say yes. In the early days, the business was slow since customers were loyal to the last person who ran the station. Some people in the town wouldn't even look his way. So Harlan decided to focus on customer service and always offer something extra. Eventually, he earned more than $12,000 a month from selling gas.
Wow, so my guy was getting fired from everywhere. Out of nowhere, this bloke was like, hey mate, wanna run my gas station? And they started making 12 G's a month.
It was 3 times more than anyone else had ever sold.
Oh wow, go on,
but his luck took a turn for the worse when the Great Depression hit America.
Oh, not the Great Depression,
to make rent, Harlan sold his own equipment. He realized that there was no point in staying, so he quit. Fortunately, another oil and gas company, Shell, asked him to run a gas station that was being built in Corbin. He knew it was the only other way he could make money again. So he accepted their offer and moved to Corbin in 1930.
I bet when Shell hired him to run their station, he was gassed.
To make extra money, Harlan sometimes made meals for customers and had a single table that could seat 6 people. At first, he only made country ham, string beans, okra, hot biscuits, and later added fried chicken, which became his bestseller.
Yes.
In his memoir, he wrote, "I believe that fried chicken is North America's hospitality dish."
True.
I spelt all of those words with capital letters. By 1937, his food became so popular by word of mouth that people came to visit him from different states.
Oh, wow.
So he expanded his gas station to include a motel and cafe that could seat 142 people.
Damn, word of
Around this
mouth.
time, he had discovered a huge problem. He couldn't pan fry the chicken fast enough.
Right.
When he cooked the chicken after an order was placed, the customer had to wait 30 minutes.
Not
If he
good
made a
enough.
batch in advance, he often had to throw away pieces at night. The only other option was deep frying, immersing the chicken in a wire basket
Deep
in
fry
deep
it,
fat.
baby.
While it cooked the
Yes.
chicken faster, it made it dry, crusty, and unevenly done.
Okay.
But after discovering a pressure cooker, a new invention at the time, and using it for cooking his vegetables, he made a
quit your
historic
hands, mate.
breakthrough. He came up with the idea of using the new invention for cooking his chicken too.
Okay.
After many experiments, he found the right balance of pressure, cooking time, meat, fat, and fat filtration.
Oh, he found the perfect ingredients to make the perfect little girls, but then he added chemical X. That was a Powerpuff Girls reference for those who don't know, mate.
Gave it a soft finish that wasn't greasy or crusty. It cut down the cooking time to 8 or 9 minutes. At the time, he was still refining the seasoning. He started with pepper and salts and ended up making several different kinds. Then one day, he got an order for 500 fried chicken meals.
What?
Since they weren't for his regular customers, he decided to try a new seasoning.
Okay.
It turned out to be the best fried chicken he had ever had in his life.
Oh,
So he
wow.
stuck with it and called it his secret blend of 11 herbs and spices.
That's what they still
Not
call it,
long
isn't it?
after, his restaurant was listed in the book Adventures in Good Eating, a Duncan Hines book.
Oh, wow.
Good eating places along the highways of America.
No way.
But in 1939, his luck took a turn for the worse.
Again! Why does this look keep taking the turn for the worse?
Building a second motel and cafe in Asheville, his first one in Corbin burnt down on Thanksgiving.
No, not
By the time it was
Thanksgiving.
rebuilt, there weren't any more tourists or vacationers around because of World War II.
Oh, God,
So he
okay.
sold his Asheville
It's not enough,
location and
man.
started working for other restaurants and cafeterias. When the war was over, Harlan started another restaurant in Georgetown and allowed a former colleague to run it. He gave him $300 a month and half of the profits. Despite Harlan's generosity, his former colleague turned against him.
Did his look take a turn for the worse?
Restaurant as a partnership with both their names behind Harlan's back, so Harlan had
Oh,
to buy
no.
him out to fire him. In 1953, Harlan received a call from a real estate agent who offered him $164,000 in cash for his motel and cafe. Harlan turned him down. His
Yeah,
motel and
get
cafe
turned
was
down.
right on the highway, and 90% of his business came from tourists. Still, the agent called him the next day and tried to convince him again. In his memoir, he wrote, "There was no point in selling out. My motel was right on the highway. That in itself was worth a fortune.
Yeah.
I was just as happy as I could be." With business booming, Harlan thought he was set for life. But 6 months later, he regretted his decision not to sell.
Did his look take a turn for the worse?
Junction in front moved to another site and cut down the flow of traffic.
Oh,
Afterwards, it was announced that a new interstate highway would bypass it altogether. Harlan was convinced that his business was doomed. So in 1956, he auctioned it off for $75,000, less than half
Yeah,
of
less
what the
than
real
half
estate
what
agent
the real estate
offered
agent
him.
offered him. Yeah, I
At
was gonna say the
66
same
years
thing, mate.
old, he had to live off his savings and social security checks of $105 a month.
Where's his look going to take a turn for the better, though?
He had a new business idea, a fried chicken franchise called
you
Kentucky
go.
Fried Chicken.
I had no idea. Great.
In fact, he already had some lined up. Years before, Harlan taught his good friend Pete Herman how to cook his chicken. When Pete served it in his restaurant, business went up by 75%. So Harlan lined up a few more franchises, all before the highway change. When he decided to pursue this path, he put a couple pressure cookers and a bag of seasoning in his
Sorry, the reason I'm looking confused right now is because it went 0 to 100 real quick. I'm good now. Let's go. Right. So he was down bad. He had to sell his place, his restaurant or his motel because the highway changed, and it sold it for 75 grand. But in the meantime, he taught another mate of his the recipe, which you should never do, by the way. But I guess in this case, you should do that. And also, you should teach it to every restaurant in the country because that's how he made billions. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say then he started a new one called Kentucky Fried Chicken, but it was called a Harmon Calf. Let's get back to it.
When he decided to pursue this path, he put a couple pressure cookers and a bag of seasoning in his car and hit the road.
Hit the road.
If he
man.
came across a decent looking restaurant, he would beg the owner to let him cook his chicken for the employees.
Oh wow.
If they were impressed, He offered to stay for a couple of days and cook for the restaurant, hoping that it would lead to another franchise opportunity. To cover his travel expenses, he would get free meals from his friends and slept in the back seat of his car. In his memoir, he wrote, "Looking back, it seems now that one of the most courageous things I ever did was to start out in my car with a pressure cooker to sell my first Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise.
You're right.
As I say, I had no money except for my monthly social security check, but I had 3,500 brochures printed. I expected to get some inquiries as a result of those brochures, but I don't think I ever got more than 2 or 3. Within a couple years, Harlan didn't have to make those trips anymore. People went to him instead. He did all the bookkeeping and other paperwork, and his second wife, Claudia Price, mixed, packed, and shipped their secret blend of 11 herbs and spices. Harlan didn't share the recipe with his franchises because he was scared it would fall into the hands of competitors. By 1963, there were over 600 KFC franchises in the US and Canada. Finally, he was financially secure.
How have we got to 600 already?
By 1963, there were over 600 KFC franchises in the US and Canada. Finally, he was financially secure, but he worried about what would become of his company after his death. Over the years, several people asked to buy his company, including a 29-year-old lawyer named John Brown. John's grandfather was a farmer who taught him the same work ethic that Harlan learned 2 generations earlier.
Oh, so he did sell it to
He
him.
met Harlan in 1963 when he was asked to become his full-time attorney. After he had said no, the two ended up talking about Harlan's favorite topic, fried chicken. John was amazed to learn that Harlan had hundreds of franchises around the US and Canada.
600, mate.
In an interview, John shared, "When I heard that, I imagined that he had salesmen everywhere. I said, 'Well, Colonel, how many salesmen do you have out in the field?' And he said, 'Oh, we don't solicit. We don't believe in solicitation.'"
Wow.
He started to think about what would happen if they were more aggressive with sales. But before they parted, he agreed to take over a barbecue franchise that Harlan was planning to build instead. He raised the money he needed from a millionaire named Jack Macy and started learning about the barbecue business. He discovered that barbecue only had a regional appeal and that the real money was in fried chicken.
Yes.
So he and Jack decided to buy Harlan's company.
Yes.
In 1963, they made their first offer. Harlan said a sale was out of the question. They argued that Harlan should enjoy his life now, and that if he died before selling his franchise, most of his estate would go towards taxes. They offered Harlan $2 million, which would have been over $15 million today. They also promised to maintain quality and treat his franchises fairly. To Harlan, their proposal made sense, but somehow didn't feel right. It felt like a father selling his child. He took his time to think about it while John continued to try and convince him. On January 6th of 1964, Harlan finally gave in and sold his company.
Wow.
He was 73 years old at the time.
Wow.
Looking back on his journey, he shared, "Every failure is a stepping stone to something better. I was rejected 1,009 times before selling my first franchise and then my company for $2 million. So many other people have strived through adversity that it will embarrass you."
That's true, guys. That's true. This quote right here.
To something better.
Every failure is a stepping stone to something better. Remember that, guys. And yeah, that was a great video. I feel like, so how KFC was made from a gas station chicken recipe. I feel like we learned a lot about my man Harlan. I'm going to call him Colonel. When he was a youngster, and you know, his personal life. We didn't really learn much about the KFC. I want to hear more about how they went from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You know, I want to hear about that. Kind of went from 0 to 600 real quick. But anyway, great video. It's nice to learn more about KFC. What a legend KFC Colonel is. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow. I'm gonna go film the podcast now, and yeah. Colonel Sanders, slap me, daddy. Sorry, that's in the first 30 seconds, isn't it? I don't know. Just figure something out, CJ. So this is gonna happen. I don't know. Anyway, Colonel Sanders, just choke me, daddy.